welcome to Primetime Modelling, and this is the first video episode of the new build, which is going to be in commemoration of the 75th anniversary of Operation Market Garden. Now, some of you may have already got a clue from the last video builds that I've done, the Williams, of what was going on, but what I'm actually going to do is do something a little bit special with the help of some ideas that I found on a YouTube video called Badgerworks. I'll put the link in the description below, so you'll be able to look and see what I'm sort of actually trying to achieve. But what I will actually be trying to do is actually motorise the engines using these little boys. Okay, so just to reiterate, come 17th of September, it will be the 75th anniversary of Operation Market Garden. Basically, the biggest sort of airborne battle that was raged even after D-Day, and it was also one of the costliest as well, with 8,000 British troops from the British 1st Airborne Division going into Arnhem, and less than 2,000 coming out. So yes, after 8 days. So I'm going to be doing this as a kind of a tribute. Set myself a deadline of actually the actual start date, or the anniversary of the start date of the operation, which is the 17th of September. So, and hopefully going to try and do two distinct sort of displays. Hopefully the first one will be the easier one. So yes, I'll tell you what we're doing now, and this is going to be the Dakota. And just basically, if you follow the link that I put in for the Badgerworks, the mounting and what show, hopefully you will have the electric or the actual wires coming out for the motors and such like through the wing, so that it'll be mounted sideways on, so that you won't actually see any of the anything coming out from the bottom of the aircraft. So it looks like that'll actually be flying. Okay, already started by sort of grinding out a channel very carefully on the actual top and also on the bottom of the wing, which as you can make out here, gets very thin here, so you've got to be very careful. But you also have to chop away a certain amount of the middle of the wing, so that the actual pipe, or the tube, which is actually a 2mm internal diameter, so it's not very thick, but will actually sit on into the wing. It will close down with a little bit of help, but once everything's all painted and mounted, this part here shouldn't actually notice, especially on the display, because that'll be facing away from you. Okay, but I'll go into more depth on this, but obviously the idea coming from the videos that I've watched on Badgerworks, his D-Day commemorative build, which he's done for a new museum, will give you a rough idea. Okay, well, we'll carry on. Okay, right, well, we're moving along now. Whilst I'm in between doing the wing, as we'll see, we can get this to actually focus in. We've got a lot more grinding out to do, just a little bit more, just to actually make the trailing edge of the wing fit a bit more better, but it's coming along. Whilst I'm doing that, also I'm also just trying to sort out the actual putting the motors in. Now, the motors themselves are slightly bigger than the diameter of the internal of the engine mouldings. So what I'm actually doing is using some actually fuel injector washers, which we can make out there, which is just about the right size for the motor to fit through. Chopping all of the cylinder heads off and gluing them onto the actual washer, like so. If we can get that to focus in. There we go. Okay, now obviously there'll be another row of those. Now, the first one I done super glued on the bottom and then used poly cement on the top. Now we can just make this out. It's not very good because it's slightly melted the plastic because I had to use quite a bit. There we go. So although it's going to be painted black and it's not going to be really noticed, so but on the second one I think we'll actually do this a lot more sort of simpler by using super glue on both ends. So that's the first, and then obviously once I've chopped off the others, they'll go on top of those in between. Also the where the actual motors are mounted into the engine cowling, I've chopped that off so that we've got the hole for the motor to go through, which when it focuses in, come on, I think we can get the idea. Yeah, she's not wanting to play ball again, but that's the idea anyway. So what I'll do is I'll come back once we've done that. Also just preliminarily sort of rigged up one of the propellers onto a motor. The actual spindle for these are a bit too narrow, so what I've done is I put a piece of vinyl tubing in there from some wire, and that's grabbed hold of that nicely. And just by using a worn out 3-volt coin battery, I can actually just get that to connect up with me, and there we go. Okay, so that's going to be the idea. I mean, the speed's probably a little bit too fast, but I think we can live with that. And by the time I got a couple of LED lights in there as well, I think that'll calm that down a little bit as well, so that'll be good. Okay, so that's how we got so far. We'll carry on. Okay, right, well we're back, and as you can see I've got all the motors mounted now. Basically I've got these on top of 2 Tamiya pots at the moment, just so we can demonstrate. But if I can bring in the pictures and we can see if we can actually focus these in a little bit. There we go. Don't look too bad at all. That's the second one, which if I can get this into focus properly. Where are we? There we go. Just doing this manually, so bear with me. As you can see that the engine there looks a lot better. This will be closest to the front end of the display, which hopefully at the end of it all you'll see what I mean. And that's the first one that I done. Still doesn't look too bad, so by the time it's got a coat of black inside there and a little bit of shading, that'll come along nicely. So basically I've got these wired together at the moment, so what I'll do is let me just put this back into focus. Right, and just again, just by using a coin battery, I'll just show you what we've got so far. Now I've got to be careful because these might start spinning and hitting it together, so but there we go. So basically what we've got there is 2 props, so that's all good. And I've also been working on the interior of the Dakota. What I've also you probably see this in a minute, but what I've actually done is if I take this apart, nothing extraordinarily different out of the box instructions. Just sprayed it cockpit green inside, put the pilots in. Let me just get this back on autofocus. There we go. Right, and so I've just basically done the interior, painted the pilots, which hopefully, no, she's not going to want to play ball, so we'll go back to manual focus. There we go, just so, nothing fancy because most of it's going to be covered up with obviously the cockpit area. The interior, like I said, just done with cockpit green. Started to do a little bit of pre-shading it, or a little bit of highlighting in there as well, just to sort of dirty it up a bit. done, as you can see, the floor, make it look like it's been weathered a little bit, but also on this side, which will be hidden again because it's going to be facing towards the front of the display. I've actually put a small SMD. You have to excuse the heat shrink, but that'll be out of the way, but I didn't have anything small enough for that. But basically what I've done is just above the actual door, if I can get the wires to play ball with me. There we go. It's a bit bleached out, but it's a green LED, which when it's shown, if I can put this quickly back together, when the two cockpit halves are together, or the fuselage halves are together, and we'll do this again, it should hopefully just be enough to shine through and reflect off the back, so that we can actually see. There we go. There's a green light in there, which obviously would be the jump light. My fingers are a little bit greasy, so it's not holding the wires on the battery properly, but as you can see, it's sort of flickering there. But where are we? Let's get that. There we go. That's held that wire. There we go. So that will also then hopefully reflect through the door, so that'll show that we've got a green light in there as well for the jump light. Okay, so nothing too fancy, but the job will be in the execution of what the display will look like. So yeah, we're carrying on. Next up, I'll be gluing the fuselage together and putting some putty in the seams if needed, and then getting that all sorted out, and then we'll finish gluing the tube into the wing roots. I may actually put an extra set of wires into this, because running the motors and the LED off of one coin cell, which is what I was hoping I was going to do, one or the other won't work, so it's either the motors or the LED. So what I might do is actually just run another pair of wires through there. There's plenty of room in there, so we should be all good. But that's it for so far. So we'll carry on and see what happens next. Okay, right, well, we're moving on, and as you can see, I've now got the other side of the wing on, and also put one of the actual engines fixed to the actual wing. The only problem I had with this was the fact that this side seemed to have been a little bit misshapen, so I had to sort of squeeze that in with a pair of clamps just to get it to the circular, whilst it was glued with the super glue to hold that into position. Also, if we can just sort of just focus that in there a little bit better, let's have a look. There we go. Also got the wiring put through. What this is, basically, I've decided to put some wing lights in. So if I can get this into shot. Oh, hang on. There we go. Got two lights there. Okay. Glued or epoxied in the rod that's going to hold it, supported it to the actual display, and buttoned up the fuselage, and started put the doors in here. Now you can actually see a lot better now the actual effect of the green light. There we go. Okay, so that'll give a nice effect. So in the next video, what we'll do is we'll have the fuselage and the wings mated together and everything all soldered up, and the other engine mounted as well. And then what we'll do is we'll move on from there. So until the next video, hope you're liking and subscribing, and you're liking the channel and what I'm actually doing on there. And we'll carry on with this build, and like I say, until next time, be good to each other, and go build a model. Bye bye, bye bye, bye bye.